Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be comparing the Cadillac CT4-V Blackwing to the Audi RS3. Before we get in this video though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Jerry Signer Cadillac here in Salt Lake City, Utah for giving me some time with this Blackwing. This particular CT4 is still available for sale, so if you're interested, I'll include a link to their website in the description down below so you can reach out to them. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money, the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood, both the mirrors, and through the rear. And let's set off. Silly radio. Now I do need to mention I'm using this driving for the CT4-V Blackwing review, and I'm also using this for the Blackwing versus the RS3 review as well. With this particular, I mean, usually I try to just, only drive cars once just to mitigate risk, but especially with this car, I don't really want to put many miles on it, which my driving route today should be about only like a mile roughly. Anyways, initially setting off in this, what I do to mention is it's really comfortable. The seats are firmer for like a Cadillac, but I mean, it's a Blackwing. It comes with the territory. Like, this is supposed to compete against cars, again, like the RS3, like the BMW M3 competition, like really aggressive, sports sedans. And so it makes sense why this is going to be a little bit, more aggressive with the seats. I will say though, the ride quality is amazing. It's so smooth. And let me see what drive mode I'm in. So right now we're in touring mode. Yeah, the suspension's amazing. I love the suspension setup that GM has developed. I mean, obviously they use it in several vehicles with like their magnetic ride, or is it MagneRide or magnetic ride control? I always get it mixed up. I think MagneRide's Ford's. Magnetic ride control, I'm pretty sure, is GM's version. But anyways, it's really cool technology. It means that you have really good handling, but then also really good ride quality. The engine's super responsive. Again, 472 horsepower. Now I do need to mention, I did review a pre-owned Blackwing last year, CT4-V Blackwing. If you want to see like me really get on the car, then just type in Ben Hardy CT4-V Blackwing and that video will pop up. With this one, I'm not going to be able to get on it as much, obviously, but that video, and maybe I'll try to like pull a clip from that video for this one when I'm editing. We'll see what happens at 3 o'clock at night when I'm editing the video. But anyways, let's pop it into, I guess, track mode. So that'll make the suspension extra firm. That'll make everything, I just want to see how it feels like with the firmness and everything. It did get a little bit louder with the exhaust. Ooh, it does actually, it says brake feel. It does change the brake feel. The brakes feel firmer now. That is interesting. Steering also feels different. Ooh, this sounds, yeah, the exhaust sounds like deeper, basically. That's cool. Yeah, it's like it just wants to go. I actually want to see how the gear shifts are. I think that's very interesting. Oh, they're like instant. Now the one thing that I will say, this is for the RS3 comparison, this transmission is a lot more refined. The RS3 has a dual clutch, and especially at low speeds it can be kind of dual clutchy, right? Kind of clunky. That's the one benefit of using a regular torque converter like this. Shift times are pretty much just as quick as that RS3, but it's a lot more like refined again, especially at low speeds and like when just kind of going around here. Yeah, I love the paddle response though. It's really solid. Even in this firmest setting, like it's definitely bouncier, that's for sure. But even in the firmest setting, this is still. Why are people jaywalking? Okay, whatever. I'm not gonna question anything. Even in this firmest setting, it's still not like that uncomfortable. Oh, they probably got out of one of these cars. Okay, that makes more sense. I'm like, what the heck? There's no crosswalk or anything here. But yeah, definitely can tell this is more tuned towards like the. It's still like super sporty feeling, but it's tuned more towards the luxury side. This would, I would say this would be probably more daily drivable than a lot of the competition. transmission. This transmission is fantastic. Oh yeah, I forgot how good this engine is. I wish that Cadillac put this engine in more cars. It's such a good powertrain. It sounds fantastic. I'm gonna pop it back in automatic mode, let it do its thing. But it's such a good powertrain. It has a really good sound to it, but again, with the transmission, it makes it super responsive. Torque band's amazing. Yeah, this reminds me, again, when I did that other review last year on the 22, again, the car was like an identical spec to this. Honestly, it had like all the carbon fiber and everything. But oh my gosh, yeah, this thing's monstrously quick and it sounds so good. And because it's rear wheel drive, you get that shove from the back. This is such a special car. I know that everyone raves about the CT4-V Blackwing. I've never driven one. Hopefully, you know, I'll be able to review one in the future. But like, I mean, this is such a special car. Like, if you're looking at, you know, a BMW M3, Audi RS3, any of the, like, or, you know, Mercedes, well, C63, I guess, maybe I'm getting my cars mixed up. But anyways, if you're looking at the German performance sedans, check this thing out. Like, it is probably the most underrated performance sedan on the market. Let me know what you guys think about the CT4-V Blackwing. Okay, let's talk about visibility here in the Audi. Here's your visibility of the hood. You can see the heads-up display, both the mirrors. They also have blind spot monitoring throughout the rest of the rear. It's weird, the interiors of the cars like feel similar in terms of like passenger space, but also at the same time this one feels slightly smaller. It's kind of a weird situation. Actually, I think that, you know what I think has happened? I think that Cadillac basically took out some room for the rear passengers and gave that's what it is. The front passenger area in this is like less spacious than the Cadillac. So that's where the extra space goes in the Cadillac. I figured it out. I have discovered everything. So anyways, drive mode select on this. I like the Cadillac drive mode select a lot more, by the way. This one's not like horrible, but I feel like the Cadillac's is a little bit easier to use. So the first thing to note, the dual clutch with this, it's not bad, but at lower speeds it can kind of be a little bit like dual clutchy is what I like to call it, where it's somewhat like lurchy in a way. So that is the one thing to note about this. The transmission in the Cadillac's quite a bit more refined. And then I actually gotta bear with me, guys. Okay, make sure this is closed so that this stuff doesn't fly out when I do some performance driving. Now when it comes to ride quality, Cadillac does benefit from the fact that it's like slightly longer wheelbase. This is still comfortable. I'm actually pretty impressed with the damping. I do think Cadillac systems, because like in Cadillac's comfort mode, I feel like it was a little bit more comfortable than this. But I will say I have driven this in dynamic mode and there's not as big of a difference. Like in the Cadillac, you go from comfort to dynamic and like the suspension gets a lot stiffer in dynamic. Or not dynamic, the track mode and the sport mode. Now I'm getting my drive modes mixed up with the car manufacturers. Whereas this, it doesn't feel like there's as big of a difference with the drive mode. So it feels like the suspension, even though it's adjustable, it's slightly more fixed, if that makes sense. I'll actually press the drive mode select. Also, I like the infotainment system in the Cadillac a little bit more in terms of like the usability. I think it's a little bit easier to use than the Audis. Because the Audi, I feel like you really have to click. But they're still both really responsive. Yeah, the Cadillac's a little bit more like just luxury feeling. So we'll pop it into, actually we'll do RS because we did track mode on the Cadillac just to make everything equal. Yeah, look at that transmission in this. I feel like the transmission in the Cadillac is good in automatic and manual. I feel like this one's better in automatic. Like I'm in manual here and the paddles are pretty responsive, but it feels like the transmission does a better job than me when it's just in automatic mode. So it's kind of a shame because these paddle shifters feel so nice. But also, the only reason I know this is because I have this as a demo card. I've been driving this for a week. This thing does not let you bounce off the rev limiter. Like you go all the way up to redline in manual mode, and it'll just like cut power like crazy. And I can't remember on the Blackwing. I'd have to go probably watch my review. I think that one lets you go like all the way up. But yeah, in the dynamic mode, again, there's not as big of a difference. But yeah, this definitely, like over the bigger bumps, I feel like the Cadillac was soaking those up a little bit more. The biggest thing though is you don't get that push from the rear like in the Cadillac. The Cadillac, obviously being rear-wheel drive, it feels different, especially the handling characteristic. Like this, I wouldn't say it's like crazy. I just popped back in manual mode again for fun. I wouldn't say it's like crazy front end heavy, but like it feels like heavier with the front end. Well, we are going to get our acceleration with this 5-cylinder. So if you look up their 0 to 60 times, they're pretty much identical. They're just both under 4 seconds for the 0 to 60 time. And when it comes to acceleration, they both feel that way. However, what I will say is this powertrain's a lot peakier compared to the Cadillac's powertrain. Again, there is a displacement difference, and I think you feel it in the acceleration. This one, it feels like there's not a lot happening, and then you hit the turbos, then it really goes. Whereas the Cadillac, it feels like it has a lot more low-end torque, which, you know, again, that's gonna be personal preference. I prefer to have low-end torque. That's just me personally. So summing things up, even though these cars I feel like aren't technically in the same segment, the Cadillac's kind of in like a segment above. It'd be more comparative to like an BMW M3, whereas this is more like BMW M2 competitor, if that makes sense. You know, people do compare them ultimately because the Cadillac, you know, you can get one for like $65,000. So like price point's really similar. Look at this. So when it comes down to it, I think the Cadillac's a better luxury performance car. I think this is more on the performance side of things. That being said though, this just, again, it has that like all-wheel drive, it is all-wheel drive, but it has that like all-wheel drive kind of like front-end heavy feel, whereas the Cadillac, it feels, gosh, for better lack of words, it feels more like evenly distributed with the weight. So I just feel like two completely different driving styles. I guess if you live in a place where it snows like this, then obviously this one you'd be able to daily drive easier because Cadillac's rear-wheel drive. But if you live in a place where it doesn't snow, I think the Cadillac's the better all-around car, kind of, because like the performance is great, the engine sounds amazing, the engine feels amazing, the transmission's amazing, it feels a little bit more comfortable. It's still such a tough choice. Let me know which one you guys would pick, whether it's the RS3 or the CT4-V Blackwing. I think they're both great. I think they both have their benefits and downsides, but I will still say this, that Cadillac is a sleeper. It's pretty underrated. I'm surprised that, like, I don't know, I'm surprised that people don't just like go after that car. Like people, again, the M3s and the RS3s and the any of the RS cars or any of the M cars, like they sell so fast, and then those Cadillacs sometimes, you know, they don't sell as fast, and it always confused me because it's like, if people drove it, I think they would be like, wow, and then they go and buy it. Let me know which one you'd pick though.